this thing on? Ooh, wait. I probably shouldn't do that. Oh man, I forgot how to do this. Okay, so today's video is gonna be very different because I thought we could just chat, you and me, you meaning viewer who's going to watch this video, and not a lot of you are going to be watching this video. Let's be real. Like this isn't something that's gonna grow my audience by a ton of people. It's not even gonna reach most of my audience because most of you aren't interested in stuff like this, and that's okay. That actually gives me a lot of courage to say what I'm about to say in this video. So yeah, today's video is very different from the stuff that I usually do. I haven't been the most consistent. I think that's been pretty obvious, and I just have been wanting to get that momentum up again. I just want to build it up. So I thought that doing these more unscripted, more unprepared videos would just help me get back into the flow of things, help me beat my perfectionism just a little bit. And so I thought I would just chat about some things that have been on my mind, somehow related to this channel. Not really about like the future of this channel or anything. I'm not gonna be doing a goodbye YouTube sort of video. I know like a lot of people do that for clickbait. I don't think even if I did do a goodbye YouTube video, I don't think any of you would care, to be very candid. It's not like I'm putting out that much fire content out there. So anyway, where am I going with this? Let's talk about productivity. Let's talk about, especially in the way that I like to talk about productivity, which is relating it to creativity, relating it to how living a creative, productive life makes us happier and healthier, and sometimes vice versa. Just being happier makes us more creative and productive. I could go on and on about all the reasons that I've been inactive on YouTube for the last couple years. I've talked about it in some videos, or maybe just one video, to be honest. I struggle to recall. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about all those reasons because I've mentioned a few things about like me moving a couple of times, getting married, changing up my lifestyle, moving again, which is exhausting. And at the end of the day, these are just kind of excuses. Yes, I think that I think that an excuse can be a good reason for something to be happening, but at the end of the day, it's still an excuse. And so I'm not going to be talking about that. I'm not going to be trying to explain about where I've been. What I am going to be talking about instead is how this has kind of made me feel. So lately, and for a long time, not just lately actually, I have been feeling some kind of way about having that productivity girl in my channel name on YouTube when I don't even feel like I've been able to be productive. And when it feels like I've been struggling to be productive and consistent, especially when it comes to my creative goals. Because transparently, YouTube means a lot to me. I know it's not obvious because I probably upload like 2 or 3 videos a year in the last couple of years. That's not great. And I know that doesn't show that YouTube means a lot to me. It's not like I'm putting up banger videos. Those 3 videos are like cinematic quality. Like, wow, you could like show them at a film festival and people would cry. They're obviously not that, right? But I think YouTube means so much to me because of the creative aspect of it all, like just being able to create and tell stories, and even stuff like this, just yapping in front of a camera, imagining that I'm actually talking to you over there, like you person behind this lens. I just feel like with everything that's been happening and not being consistent on YouTube for this long, it makes me feel kind of like a fraud. I also have been lacking the experience of chatting in front of a microphone, so forgive me if I am just rambling and I sound like I'm not saying anything meaningful. I genuinely don't know if this is gonna make it to the channel. I think I'm just using this as a practice run for when I actually do, I guess, my more run of the mill videos, my more normal videos, because I have so many things planned. I have so many things planned. I've always had things planned, and it's just so hard to get those things done. But hopefully this is it. Hopefully this is the time when I feel like we can start making progress towards all of these plans. I'm not gonna be able to do the 100 of content ideas that I have that's always like floating around in my mind, but I'm hoping that we can get at least like 5 good ones this year, and that would be amazing. But yeah, back to what I was saying earlier about like feeling like a fraud. Like it really occurred to me like it doesn't feel right to have a channel that's all about productivity when it feels like I've been struggling with productivity myself, especially these last couple of years when I have been ghosting my YouTube channel, which is one of the things that has made me feel the most fulfilled. And I did talk about this in a recent video that I did reviewing an accountability coaching program, but like when I got into goal setting and productivity, I was really young. And now that I'm a lot older, I'm realizing that a lot of things have changed, especially in the way that I view systems and creating systems. And I'm not going to get into that so much, but I guess one thing that I want to talk about now in this little chat of ours is I've come to learn that a lot of things that worked for me when I was younger just don't work for me now. And if you've been here like a long time, you'd know that I talked a lot about different productivity tips and techniques, especially back when I was very new to YouTube and I was just like learning all of these amazing things from these self-help books, these productivity books, and I would just like share them. I would try them out in my own life and share them, and especially if I like them and they worked really well for me. But in recent years, I've come to find that so many like of these productivity techniques, even stuff that I've talked about and raved about on this channel, just don't work as well for me. So there's like a lot of this popular productivity advice that's been on, you know, the internet for as long as forever, and I've even talked about some of them. But, you know, over the years trying these things out, I just realized that some things don't work for me. And I wanted to talk about some of them just to, number one, maybe if you're on the same boat, maybe you can relate. And I hope you can find some solace in knowing that there are some people who, you know, just, you know, not everything works for everybody else. You know, maybe you'll relate. Maybe, just maybe. And number two is maybe on the flip side, if I can show you what's not working, I can tell you why, and then maybe you'll also find out in your own way, like maybe why something is not working for you or is not working as well for you, and you can make some changes there. So let's get the first one out of the way. I think one of the productivity like popular productivity tips out there that just hasn't been working for me in recent years is the eat the frog method. I know I've talked about this at least once, and the eat the frog method, if you're not aware, it's you do the hardest thing first thing in the morning. Basically, like your hardest task of the day, the moment you sit down to get to work, that's what you do. So let's say you have like a 2,000 word essay that you have to write, or maybe you have to complete this big video project by the end of the day. The Eat the Frog method suggests that you should be doing that first thing when you come to sit down. And that's because when you accomplish the hardest thing, it suggests that psychologically, when you do the hardest thing first, it just means that you're going to have a lot of momentum to do everything else. And like, since the hardest thing is done anyway, you might as well be able to cruise through everything else in your day. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not going to sit here and say that doesn't work, and I'm sure for a lot of people who still use this tip, whether or not they know that they are, I'm sure that it works well for them. And when I was younger, the biggest tasks that I had to do were like stuff that my bosses at my first couple jobs wanted me to do, or they were things like even younger projects for school. They were these one-off tasks and stuff. And gotta be honest with you, these things were not that hard. Like, I mean, of course, like, I'm not saying it's not easy to write, like, this college paper. I'm not saying that it's, like, a walk in the park, but I'm just saying, like, compared to the stuff that I have to be doing, man, I just, genuinely, I can't even tell you what's hard anymore about what I have to do in my to-do list. What I'm trying to say is, like, these days, it feels like everything on my to-do list is a hard thing to do. I mean in both like complexity and the time that it takes to complete them or even to just start them. There's so many things that I want to be prioritizing, and I know that this is a me problem. I know I'm just not prioritizing well, but like when you want to do, you know, you want to do your job well, you want to do your creative projects well, it's like you don't know what's like the hardest thing. What is the frog then? Like if you just ask me right now, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what's like the hardest thing for me to do on my to-do list, because all of them seems hard. I don't know. Why don't you tell me? You're like, take a look at this like to-do list and tell me which one's the frog, huh? So yeah, all of my tasks seem like the frog these days, and I don't know what that says about me, but that is how I feel some days. And just asking myself every day, okay, what's the hardest thing I need to get done? And I can get that done first. It just hasn't been helpful, because then I'm stuck in this analysis paralysis loop where I keep trying to convince myself that this thing is the hardest thing. Actually, no, you know, this thing is the hardest thing. And that just leads me into days where like half the morning is gone and I really haven't done anything, and that's just not great. So I have learned to stop thinking that way, to stop asking myself what's like the hardest thing, and I have learned to just manage my to-do list in a more manageable way, which we can talk about later. But for now, let's talk about the second popular productivity tip that just hasn't been working for me. And that tip is, surprisingly, to have a dedicated workspace. I'm gonna be really honest with you right now and say that I don't think I've ever really stuck to having a dedicated workspace. I've definitely tried blogging about like transforming like my workspace back in the pandemic when I had to move back home with my parents for, you know, safety and all that stuff. But I can count the number of hours I actually spend in these workspaces during the day. And I can tell you some days it's not even half my day that I spend in these dedicated workspaces. I'm somebody who's pretty nomadic. I don't know. I always need like this change of scenery, like changing my position, changing like what I'm looking at, what I'm able to see. And so that's kind of why dedicated workspace is just not my thing. I mean, I have a dedicated workspace. I've had dedicated workspaces. I invest a lot of money, maybe too much money, in all these cool paraphernalia and these cool tech products. I'm a huge gearhead. I'm a huge tech nerd. I love all this stuff. It brings me a lot of joy to be setting these things up, to be researching them, to be comparing them. It's just like, it's one of my guilty pleasures. And so just not, I guess, being able to stick to it, I mean, it comes with some sort of guilt. And I know that psychologically, this tip has been touted as a must-know tip because psychologically, you know, if it's like Pavlovian, you know, you train yourself to always be productive at a certain space, then you're always going to want to be productive. You're always going to work here. You're always going to initiate tasks easily. I'm sure that it's true, but it just doesn't work for me that well. I need to be working on my couch. Admittedly, I work in bed. I know I shouldn't, but I don't work in bed all the time. I maybe like just a few minutes at a time. Sometimes I even start work on the bed just so I can like get things going, and then I move eventually. I need to be able to work from my dining table, my coffee table, from the floor. You know, I just need to have that sort of variety, and it works really well for me. And so I don't think I'm ever gonna have one dedicated workspace, and you know what, I think that's okay. Now finally, the final productivity tip that hasn't been working very well for me in recent years that I want to share is, this one's a bit controversial, but like, if it's not on your calendar, then it doesn't exist. Actually, I'm gonna clarify. I do use a calendar a lot, so I do put like many things and events and to-dos on my calendar, but it's more like I don't stick to the schedule that I thought I would be sticking to. I don't really operate in terms of like strict routines that start at certain times, that end at certain times. I just kind of go with my energy most of the days now, and that's been working well. I have had to manage my energy in different ways than I have since I was younger. I don't know. I'm not that old, guys. I mean, I'm in my late 20s, but I'm not ancient. It's not like I don't have energy. It's just that for some reason, thinking about all these things as like, I guess, a more adult, if that makes sense, it just zaps a lot of energy out of me. And so having stuff on a rigid schedule gives me more anxiety than it does calm. I know like the whole benefit of having routines and things scheduled is so that you're able to flow through these things really easily, and it's meant to like take away stress. But for some reason, I've just been getting more and more stressed the more I try to stick to these to these types of things. And so I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that like the Google Calendar schedule that I made when I was 23 works just as well as it does when like now that I'm 28, you know. Oh man, I told the internet what my age is. I'm gonna bleep that. No, I'm kidding. I don't care. I don't care that you know I'm 28. It's I'm not embarrassed about it. It's more like a privacy thing. But yeah, having like this really rigid schedule, even if I do allow like a lot of buffer time, if I have a lot of flexibility, it's just crippling to me. I don't like planning out what every single day has to be anymore because so many things come up. It's just a fact of life. Like the older you get, the more stuff you have to think about, the more things you have to worry about. And that's not great. I mean, but it's not bad. It's just, it is what it is. And you have to be able to adapt. So instead of thinking of daily to-dos, like I must do these things today, I don't even think that way anymore. I just think of like, you know, I think this is something we could do for the entire week and then see what we can cross out. Obviously, this doesn't apply to things that have like hard deadlines. So things that, you know, I need to do for clients, I need to do for work, I need to do for other people, like commitments like that doesn't apply. But like for these smaller things for myself, I'll try to work them in. And maybe I will get to a point in my life where these things become routine and become more of like a scheduled habit. But currently, with the life that I have right now, with the life that I live with my husband, with his schedule as well, that's just not something we can accommodate, that I can accommodate. And so I just need to roll with that. Okay, so I had to pause recording because like the sun had set and it was getting really dark, and that's on me thinking that I could finish filming that video in like 10 minutes before the sun sets. So yeah, that's not great. So I think like half that footage is like just constantly getting darker and darker, and I think that would just be hilarious to start editing that later on. So anyway, where were we? Right. I think so. I just went through like 3 productivity tips, popular productivity tips that just haven't been working for me. And I think as I talked about all of these things and reflect on like, my history back when I was younger and all my interest in productivity advice and books and stuff, I'm coming to this realization that maybe the reason why these things worked so well for me, like why trying out all these systems and like being actually productive because of these systems, the reason why they worked so well on me is because of the novelty of it all. I think I've mentioned in more than one video that novelty is like a really powerful thing for productivity. It stimulates the brain. So trying out new things, trying out new tasks, even rearranging your workspace, or just trying new apps, that can be a huge boost for your, inspiration and motivation, just because new things stimulates the brain. It's like when you go on vacation and you feel so productive when you come back from vacation because you just gave yourself this mini break. So there's a lot of like happy hormones and stuff that's going around like your brain and your body. And so I think that when I was younger and I was trying out tips from these books, trying out different productivity apps, and to be candid, I still do try a lot of productivity apps that I sometimes will post about, sometimes I don't. Trying out all these new systems, these new templates, making these new templates myself, it just was cool. It felt stimulating. Being able to change things up that often just was constantly like, zapping like these new stimuli into my brain, and that made me feel productive because my brain felt so engaged. And I don't know how or when it happened, but I think I just got burnt out by the whole trying new things. Like after a few years of constantly changing things up, you kind of want some level of sameness, something that works. Like, I mean, it's not a system if it's not repeatable, if it's not something that you stick to, then it's just like a challenge. And I think many of the systems that I was trying, because I had to be trying something new, to be able to talk about something on this channel, I had to be trying something new all the time. So it wasn't really a system to me. It was just me challenging myself, trying out this system, but not actually sticking to it in the long term, so it never became my system, if that makes sense. But yeah, too long didn't read. I was definitely getting burnt out on that. It was really fun for a long time, trying out all these new things, reading all these books. It was fun until it wasn't, and I don't really know when that happened. I just kind of know that it did. Now, I don't want to just have doom and gloom and just rant in this video, so I do want to quickly touch on the things that I feel have been working for me, and they're just really, really simple things, and they're things that I'm sticking to for as long as possible, because these are the things that have been helping me become more creative and feeling like I can finally go back to my creative hobbies like YouTube and content creation again, which is a really, really near and dear type of habit that I really want to have in my life. So let's start off with the first one. So I did talk about like the eat the frog method. So I said it doesn't work for me, but what has been working for me is kind of the opposite. So instead of eating the frog, aka doing the hardest thing that I have to do, I start with what I think is just the easiest thing to do off of my to-do list for the day. So it's just the smallest thing that I think I could get done. Maybe it's like sending somebody this report or replying back to this email, something like that. And just being able to build momentum from these small, tiny things. I think it does have the same roots as the eat the frog method, because it's just about building momentum and like not having like task anxiety. And so in my mind, knowing that I have like a really long to-do list and a wish list of tasks that I want to do and hobbies and habits that I want to be sticking to, I just go with what I think is like the easiest thing to start with, the easiest stuff, and then, get that dopamine from accomplishing it and then moving on to the next. And the other thing is that I did mention kind of briefly, I touched about this when I talked about like calendars, is I have a could do list. So again, I'm not sticking to really strict daily to-do list. Like I have to check these off every single thing on this list. I don't mean a list for like work or one specific thing. I mean like the entire list you have for like your entire life. And so all those tasks can add up. So it is a lot. So instead of thinking about like I have to be doing all of these things on the days that I set them, which I used to do by the way, especially when I was a student, I was so good at that. But now as a a more adult, it's a lot harder. And so I have been just operating from a sense of I think I could do this today, knowing exactly what those tasks are, and then having the most flexibility into how to actually get it done, which is why this whole like rigid scheduling, rigid like to-do list systems just haven't been working out for me as well as they have before. So much of my energy gets zapped from doing stuff like this. I mean, just earlier today I was filming a lot of like content for future shorts that I want to do or Instagram stuff, and they're not like me talking to the camera type of content. This is actually the biggest video that I'm filming today. It's a long talking head, but I was just doing like really short clips that's like, basically B-roll and stuff that I can use for short videos and stuff. And I was just so exhausted. I actually thought that I'd be able to get way more done from that shot list. Like I had a long list of things to shoot. It was a combination of like talking head and like of B-roll, and I wasn't able to get through all the B-roll. I was just able to get through a few of these clips and then figured that I don't think I'm gonna get all of it done today, and that's okay. We'll try again tomorrow or sometime else this week or this weekend. So yeah, those are just the things that have been on my mind. I know this is like a really niche thing. This is a very me thing to be worried about. I'm not sure a lot of you guys can relate. Maybe some of you are crushing it in your content creation goals this year. Maybe some of you are crushing the productivity aspect of your life. And if that is you and you have stuck to this point of the video, then I'm really proud of you. I'm happy that that's the case for you. I definitely hope to be getting to that point soon. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like at this point, if you have made it to this part of the video, which I don't know how many of you are going to be at this point of the video, like maybe just leave a comment and let me know what you think, like if I should do more just like chatting videos with you. I don't know. I find stuff like this fun. I find it relaxing. It's like me talking to a friend. It's just a really nice feeling. And I don't know if I'm going to be making more of this, but if you do want me to make more stuff like this, I just yap in front of a camera, no fancy editing, that kind of thing. Let me know. And I'm happy to just, keep chatting about what's on my mind. And maybe you can tell me about what's been on your mind, and maybe we can just go from there. Hopefully this video will not be my last video in a very, very long time, but you never know with all these changing priorities and stuff in my life. But I really hope to be back with other cool videos for you very soon. I can't promise when. I don't have a YouTube publishing schedule. I'm not giving myself that much pressure. I'm just letting myself create and enjoy the creation process, because I think that's the most important part. And I have been, as all over the place as this video has been, I felt really good doing this. I've loved having, you face to face and just telling you what's on my mind and working these creative muscles again, even if it's just yapping and chatting and just like, I don't know, like sitting here pretending somebody cares about what I have to say. And that's okay. Like I've been enjoying this process. And so, yeah, hopefully, I keep enjoying the process so that I can make some more actually great, valuable videos. I hope you got some value from this video. And if you didn't, that's fine. Let me know so that, I can, whip myself into shape again and that sort of thing. But otherwise, I guess I'll see you in my next video. I don't know if it's coming very soon, but it's coming. So I'll see you there. Bye.